Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Christi Pritchard, RNC-OB, is a labor and delivery nurse who has found her greatest joy in walking alongside women during one of the most vulnerable and powerful seasons of their lives. With her certification in inpatient obstetrics and years of experience at the bedside, she knows the importance of advocacy, compassion, and making sure women feel truly seen and heard. Christi started Felicity Perinatal Consulting to help moms create birth plans that work beautifully within the hospital setting, bringing unity with patient and provider and clarity where overwhelm often takes over. I loved this conversation with Christi. I'm not a mom unless you count my golden retriever Waffles, so I admittedly have a lot to learn on this subject, but Christi was such a gracious educator. Whether you're thinking about starting or adding to your family, or you want to best support a mother-to-be in your life, I know you will learn so much from this conversation with Christi. Christi, thank you so much for joining us today on the Health by Haven podcast. We are admittedly talking about a subject that I know very little about, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'll be the one to say it. You know, no one has to admit it, but I'm so glad you're on to chat all things women's health, family planning, labor and delivery, all of it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay, so I want to get things started. For people listening who don't know you, give us a little background, how you started working in this field, and then additionally, how you decided to start Felicity Perinatal Counseling.
Sure. So I'm a nurse. I'm a OB nurse. I went into nursing thinking I wanted to do ER, which is like emergency department nursing, and it is so not my personality. So I'm so glad I didn't do that. The reason I thought I wanted to is because I have a heart for women who've been abused. And so I was thinking that would be my best route into something called a sexual assault nurse examiner. But then I did ER like my senior year of nursing school as my longer clinical and realized that is not a good place for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job doing like OB/GYN, mother, baby, nursery, labor and delivery hybrid at a smaller hospital, and mostly did like the mother baby side. Then went into like working in an OB office, and then really found my passion, labor and delivery, and found that I get to do a lot of what I love and am passionate about, caring for women there. So that's my nursing story. So I've done that for about 5 years, and I started Felicity Perinatal Consulting just because I felt like it was a need for both, honestly, the labor workers and the moms and patients and their partners. I feel like there's a gap between someone's preferences and their desires and honestly like their education and what is realistic in a hospital setting. And I am only focusing on like hospital births. I think home births, if that is for you, that's great. That's not what I'm focusing on. I think I see a lot of like my patients come in with a birth plan that like sounds really beautiful and amazing, but we like their hospital just might not have the capacity for those things, or their health history just really doesn't like align really well with their preferences. Or sometimes like they really needed a birth plan and their provider or the oncoming nurse or whoever just really didn't understand their preferences. And if they had one, it would have just been a better experience for them. So that's just something I noticed. And I just find myself really loving when my friends are pregnant and being able to talk through things with them. So it just felt like a natural outlet for me. So
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that journey. And like, it does sound like you really like found your niche within nursing, like what really like it gets you excited to go to work every day. Of course, like not everyone wants to work every day, but like
Yeah.
that you found like something that brings you joy and that you can help like these women and their families and their babies and things like that. So once again, from someone who has no experience in this area, and I'm of the age where my friends are starting to have babies, my cousins are having babies, but I really like don't know anything about it. Like
Hmm.
even the concept of a birth plan to me was like
Yeah.
totally foreign. So, for listeners like me who have never had children and they're like, what do you mean a birth plan? Like, I thought you just show up at the hospital and push the
Right.
baby out.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us through some of the options. Like, how do you even know what options you have?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't think back in the day birth plans were a thing. I think it's relatively new. And I think it's come from some really good places and then some not so good places. So I think like the idea of having a birth plan and you already are educated and you know your preferences, that's great. I also think there's just so much division on social media about women's health and so many super strong opinions. And I mean, obviously, a lot of things are political now, but even about just like birth is somehow politicized and it's just kind of crazy.
Mm,
And there are just so many quote unquote experts online. And I don't claim to be an expert. I'm truly just a local nurse, but but it is just kind of scary. And just, my algorithm, of course, is very like OB centered. And
mm,
so I see it and it's kind of terrifying. And so I kind of feel like it's, if you show up at a hospital, like hopefully you will have a totally safe and fine delivery, and that is fine. And I will say, like, most people don't have a birth plan, but if you are somebody who's a little anxious like me and like you look things up and you're on Instagram, like you might have a lot of like micro anxieties that build up, and then you can walk into your first hospital experience. Like a lot of these women have never been admitted to a hospital before. They're
mm.
healthy and it's overwhelming, and can become it can just take joy away and clarity away. And so I feel like there's almost a bit of a necessity nowadays. So birth plans can look like a lot of different things for different people. Most of them are going to talk about like the vibe, like dim lighting, those things, which are great. I think things I want to help people on is like more of their logistics. So, like, if you're being induced versus you're going into spontaneous labor, how can we help you achieve your goals in a way that like will comply well with your chosen hospital? And how can you talk to your provider in a way that will really help them see you? Things that I feel like maybe a birth plan template online might not offer.
For somebody who's having their very first child, how would they even go about deciding what hospital they might want to plan to give birth? Like I'm assuming they would go to their normal like OB as their delivery doctor, but like even like the super granular like first steps, where should somebody start?
I think so. My perspective is going to be medical. And so I think like it depends first, like on your medical history. So if you have a certain kind of like clotting disorder, or you're going to have a C-section, or you carry a certain genetic anomaly, you might know your hospital based off of like that kind of hospital's capacity as far as like a NICU goes. But if you're just kind of a run of the mill person, I mean, I think having somewhere close to where you live is probably the most important. Most hospitals have a lot of different OBs to choose from that round there and work there and have privileges there. Where I live, there's only, I think, one hospital that has like one practice, but most hospitals have like several practices. So I feel like most of the time you can find someone that you mesh well with. I would just say find a hospital that's close to you. But then, you can always call your labor and delivery unit. And if you are somebody who's like, I know that I want like a water birth and I want to have a birth tub, then you can call and see like which hospitals do that for you. But also just knowing things change and like that doesn't mean that you will for sure have one. So, I mean, it really kind of depends on what like your top priorities are. But I think like safety wise, somewhere close to you and somewhere that can like accommodate your medical needs.
You don't want to be having a baby like on the road on the way to the hospital. It's far
I
away.
mean, I wouldn't, but yeah.
Sounds stressful. Hey friends, we're taking a quick break to show some love to one of our favorite places for deep, meaningful care during pregnancy and early motherhood, Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia, South Carolina. I've had friends see Shannon during both pregnancy and postpartum, and they simply rave about her massages. If you're expecting, their prenatal massage is truly next level. Every session is a luxurious 75 to 90 minutes, giving your body the time it needs to unwind. You'll enjoy a gentle abdominal massage designed to support your growing baby, plus a deeply grounding somatic facial massage and a soothing scalp massage with lavender essential oil. It's the kind of rest and relief every mama-to-be deserves. And for those in the fourth trimester, Avoda offers equally nurturing postpartum massage. You'll receive a restorative abdominal massage with castor oil and a warm heated pack to support healing, along with the same calming somatic facial massage and a rejuvenating scalp massage using Halo hair growth oil. Perfect for tired minds, tender bodies, and anyone navigating postpartum shifts. Whether you're pregnant, newly postpartum, or gifting care to someone you love, Avoda Massage Therapy delivers intentional, heart-centered support you can feel long after the session ends. Treat yourself or a mama in your life. Visit Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia, South Carolina to book your session today. Okay, so if someone is, expecting for the first time, or maybe like they did not have a good experience with their first or second or third child and they're having another one and they want to have a better experience this time, and they happen upon this podcast and they find you and they're like, oh yes, this is like what I'm looking for. Like walk us through a little bit of like what it looks like to work with you, like to create a plan and like the steps throughout.
Right now I've got like a pre-questionnaire sort of form where I have people kind of tell me about their, as much as they're willing to share, like medical history and their previous experiences, just like basic topics that are really going to tell me how their delivery would go, like things like if they are being induced for a medical reason, or if they want to be a spontaneous, or if they are having a scheduled C-section, their blood type, because that kind of matters too. And then I like to, after that, just have a quick phone call, kind of tell them kind of how it's going to go, and then set up a meeting with them. I'm learning that my 50-minute allotted time is not really enough. Usually I'll have like 50 minutes, but they've kind of gone over a little, so I might be changing that a little bit. But talking about, like their first experience, what are the things that make them worried? What are, their fears? I ask also about like any sexual trauma, which of course people don't have to answer because it's just a very vulnerable and new situation. When you're on the labor and delivery unit, you kind of like, I mean, it is just a lot of vulnerable moments. And so just kind of understanding the person as a whole and like what their emotional and mental capacity is for those types of things, and really just trying to give them a good idea of what it could be like. And then getting into like the specifics and nitty gritty of preferences. Like, do you want your husband to cut the umbilical cord? Are you going to wait to bathe the baby and like all those, other things, but just really trying to get to what is really specific to that person, and kind of that person's unique, like concerns or things they really, really want differently. So it's a lot of just conversation. And then I take my conversation and all my notes and put it into a template I have and just kind of edit it. send them a draft and see what they think. And then if they're like, this is a go, or I would change this, I'll edit it, send it back to them. Hopefully they will then take it to their prenatal appointments and have their OB look at it, because that is so important. I am not by any means going to ever give any medical advice. And so I don't replace their doctor at all. And so, bringing it to them and starting those conversations before things are critical and before there's a lot of pressure. And so your doctor kind of knows where you're coming from and y'all can have a good rapport. And also a lot of people at the end of their prenatal appointments, like towards the end of pregnancy, tend to see all the different OBs in their office that could deliver them, because your specific OB might not be on call that day that you are admitted. And so it's great to just be like, hey, my name is Christi. So nice to meet you. In case you're my provider, I just wanted you to look at this. And then they might not remember, but they will remember when they see you on labor and delivery and you're like, hey, I'm Christi. I talked to you about this. Here's the thing I handed you a few weeks ago. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to her. And so that's kind of the idea. And then one thing I just really feel strongly about is just, that postpartum debrief. And so for any client I have, that's a free conversation if they want to just kind of talk about how it went with somebody who knows all the jargon and kind of knows exactly what you're talking about and can picture what happened and kind of ask questions, and maybe just kind of offer some sort of like perspective on how it went. And that's just a really important part of healing. It's a huge life transition. I don't have kids yet, but just even seeing close friends and family, and then of course, just patients, it's so important. And so I think a lot of people tend to just kind of be afraid to ask that because they don't really understand delivery, or they might think that's too personal. So it might be for somebody, but that's just something I really feel strongly about too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, going back, I love the idea of having a plan so that you're trying to make decisions in a stressful time, or like having decision fatigue. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get to the end of my workday and my husband will ask me like a really simple question, like about dinner or something. And I'm like, do not ask me any more questions, please. Like, I've made 10,000 decisions today. Like, I cannot make one single more decision. So I feel like going into a very stressful situation and day where you've like already thought things through and like chatted them out, with you or somebody that they're working with, and with their family, their significant other, whatever, like, and with their doctor. Like, I think that is an amazing tool and like gift to give people, that they're not like going to have to be making these decisions when they're like probably in a lot of pain and feeling a lot of anxiety and all of that when they're like getting ready to have a baby. But I love the idea of the postpartum piece as well. So let's chat through that a little bit more. Like, what are you seeing with your clients, like when they're chatting through afterwards? I know you talked about like a big shift, but what are some ways that you found that you can support women in like that postpartum period? And then for people listening, I mean, all of us know people who've had babies. We were a baby at one point. So like all of us, are part of a family, and we can all be supporting people in our lives that are going through this transition. So like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I just want to point out one caveat too, is like with birth plans, of course, things can definitely not go exactly how you plan it. And
Yeah.
so I think like one cool thing about the service I'm hoping to do for people is just to kind of talk through what's truly important and what can happen. So that they're not, when something really changes, like say they're talking about C-section, they've already kind of walked through that scenario in their head. So yes, plans are great. And also planning for the unexpected too.
Yes, plans A,
Um,
B, and C.
yeah. But yeah, I think as far as postpartum goes, I mean, I don't have kids yet. I would love to, but we don't yet. And so I don't know what it's like to be postpartum, but I do kind of know the feeling of when something really big happens in your life and people don't really know fully how to ask about it. And so I think most of the time the answer is ask about it. and
Yeah.
and just even asking if you can ask about it. Like, hey, I just wanted to, I know that you're saying like it went really well. Um, you mean so much to me, and I just want to be a safe place for you. Is there anything that like was particularly like stressful? If you're somebody who offers like spiritual support, like anything that's like going on that's heavy that I could be praying for you about. Of course, those things, but a lot of times it is really happy,
Hmm.
hopefully. But yeah, and then I think like, you know, just letting them teach you, like they learned a lot. So like they went through a whole labor and delivery experience and now like they're an expert in a way. So being like, hey, like you were saying that X, Y, and Z happened. I'm curious, can you tell me about that? I just am wanting to know. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, no one's asked me that. And now I have this knowledge and I can process it with you. So I think just like the simple things in a normal relationship is being curious and just offering a safe ear. Um, but then I think one thing I've just noticed from friends and community who do a lot of postpartum support is just like not asking, is it okay if one day I can drop off, blah, blah, blah. Just say, you know, I'm planning to come and drop off a casserole. Does this day work for you?
Yeah.
Like that. I think, like you were saying with decision fatigue, that doesn't go away after you've had a baby. You're still
It's probably way
really
worse.
tired and you have a lot of decisions all of a sudden. And so, any way you can help minimize that too is helpful.
Absolutely. And I think that can go for a lot of things, not just having a
Yeah.
child, just like
Yeah.
loving on your people.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what are some of the common concerns, worries that you're seeing like a lot with women who are going through this experience that maybe we could talk through on here so that if someone is expecting and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, like this is what I'm wondering about," like we can like help ease their minds a little bit and also know that they aren't alone in thinking that.
As far as like labor interventions, we've got like Pitocin, which is the synthetic form of oxytocin, which is like what makes your body contract, is the primary method of inducing somebody. I think online, I do see a lot of just like negativity attached to Pitocin because they are right. A lot of times, Pitocin is overused and misused, and it can put people into a situation they don't want to be in. But I think I wish people knew more that like is kind of just a neutral thing. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. Actually, I think it is a good thing because oxytocin is like what helps us bond with babies. It's what helps with um, controlling your bleeding. But as far as like labor interventions go, I think like I would just want everyone to kind of like as much as they can think of these interventions as options and as neutral options, not necessarily good and bad, because I think most of the time when I see interventions used like breaking somebody's water for them, um, maybe sometimes using a vacuum to help get the baby out. Um, I think a lot of times people can assume that like interventions automatically lead to um, a bad outcome or you're going to be more predisposed to a bad outcome. And there is a lot of truth behind some of that. But I think like when people come in with that idea, it can just kind of bring up a lot of defenses. Um, and so I think one thing I would just say is like doing your research and just and seeing them as just neutral options for you that you can absolutely decline, if needed. But also just like seeing the benefits of them too. And so,
Mhm.
I mean, I could go into one specific or another, but there are just so many.
Yeah.
And like most of the time people are coming in to get induced and like that means you're going to be like you're going to have an intervention somehow. And so
Yeah.
um Yeah, I think just kind of realizing what really matters for you and what kind of ultimately needs to happen for you based off your health history and kind of going in with like, okay, well, this is like the agency I have. These are the options I have, and kind of going from there.
Yeah, I love that approach because you're right. Like how you mentioned before, and I mean, my algorithm is not labor and delivery, but like really with anything now, social media, like everything's clickbait, everything is controversial, everything is like, this is the answer, this is something you shouldn't do because it's horrible. And so, like, being able to work with someone like you that can talk them through the options, like in a neutral way, where they can just like understand what it means and if it's a right fit for them in their ideal world, knowing
Mhm.
that plans can change, things can come up, and like being
Mhm.
flexible as well is wonderful.
Yeah, and knowing, of course, you always like you always have a choice.
Yeah.
No one can truly force you to do anything you don't want to do, but when you're really confident about your choice and you don't have a lot of just like forefront like emotions behind it that really you didn't really come to on your own, like come to those decisions on your own, and yeah, that's what I would say.
I love it. Okay. Anything that you want to make sure that people listening, whether they're women expecting, whether they're support teams, that you're like, I really feel like people should know this about the entire planning and labor and delivery and postpartum process.
Yes. The big one, I think, is elective induction. So people can schedule an induction at 39 weeks without any like medical necessity to be induced. And that is super tempting when you're 39 weeks pregnant, especially in the summer where I live in Colombia, because it's miserable.
Yeah.
um, and or you can go in for medical reason. And sometimes that can be even as early as like 36 weeks. But if you opt for an elective induction, that is totally fine. That is totally your choice. But I think a lot of people don't realize that that kind of sets you up for a longer process, just a longer labor and delivery process,
Mm.
especially if it's your first baby. Um, One thing too, I work at a really super busy hospital here. We deliver a lot of babies, and there are days, especially in September, it's the busiest birthday month of the year.
Oh,
And
fun fact.
yeah, if we are full, elective inductions need to be postponed sometimes. And so you might have arranged childcare or just family to go on this day. But if you're an elective induction, there is potential for you to be postponed. The other thing I would say is like, there's just a lot of work to do before we get you to the induction part. We need to get like your cervix ready for the Pitocin or whatever method they use, but typically Pitocin, for you to start actually like going into labor. And sometimes that can take 1 or 2 days to do. And so I think just like really talking to your doctor, like, what does it look like if me, first baby, first pregnancy, I am 1 centimeter and I'm not having any contractions and the baby's high in my pelvis? What would that actually look like? Like, how many days are we looking at? Having those conversations before, I think, is really crucial to that decision making process. And then also knowing, like, if you are healthy and your baby is healthy and you go in for an elective induction and you've tried Cytotec, which is something that helps soften your cervix, and you've tried a Cook catheter, which is like a balloon to open your cervix, and you've even tried Pitocin, and like maybe you even got an epidural or maybe you got IV pain medicine. If you are still 39 weeks and your baby looks good and you are healthy, you can always ask to go home. You
Mm.
are not being held hostage at a hospital. And if you're not being induced for a medical reason where you're not in a place where you're balancing risks and benefits about delivering now or waiting, you can go home and come back later. And I think that's just something that I just like to tell people, because when we're in the hospital and we're trying all these things, like that's not where our brains are as like um, a nurse or a provider, we're kind of thinking, okay, how can I help this person? What are our next steps?
Yeah.
We're rarely thinking, because it's not normal to discharge someone from labor and delivery. So, but it is possible, and I have done it before. So I think that's just something I would say too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great advice because sometimes, you get your mindset on something. Maybe you decided, oh, I'm going to do this thing and today's the day. Baby's coming.
Mhm.
It would be hard, I imagine, to like let that go. If it's like, no, baby actually doesn't want to come, but like mom's healthy, baby's healthy, we're all good. And I'm sure it's exhausting and it's expensive in our healthcare system and all of the things. But I think that's like great permission to give people is like, if everyone's okay, like that's all you want in the long run is like everyone to be healthy. And so it's okay to like come back and try again later when your body's ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. And that did not make you less of a good patient. Like you are still doing the right thing for you, and that is a-okay. So
Amazing. All right. Well, Christi, I feel like you've taught me so much for sure. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's like, oh my gosh, like all of this is so overwhelming. And we just learned a ton from you. So thank you for all of your expertise and advice. And I'm going to move us into some fun little wellnessy rapid fire questions to finish
sure.
us off.
Cool.
All right. Morning or evening workout?
I probably am an evening one. Yeah.
Running or walking?
Right now, walking in this season of life. Yes.
Lifting or body weight?
Body weight.
Juice or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Coffee or matcha?
Coffee.
Salad or bowl?
Salad.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Tacos or quesadilla?
Tacos.
An early riser or night owl?
Oh gosh. I'm kind of neither. I love sleeping.
Nothing wrong with that. Sleep is so
I
important
will
for
fall
health.
asleep first and wake up last. So
Amazing. We love
yeah.
the rest. Well, Christi, where can everyone find you? They can follow you along online. If they're looking, if they're expecting and they want to find somebody to work with on a birth plan, tell us where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Yeah. So my Instagram, I think, is the best place. It's at Felicity Perinatal Consulting. And there you can find a link to my website and some cool freebies like a little prenatal visit guide, or my website, which is felicityperinatalconsulting.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christi. It was so great chatting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.